Hi, I'm Ann Perez. I used to be a high school English teacher, and now I create professional learning like this. I'm here today with my colleague Danielle.
Hello, I'm Danielle Peck. I also used to be a high school English teacher. In our last session, we talked about reflection and its role in supporting agency. Today, it's all about collaboration. So, we think it's easy to take collaboration and its benefits for granted. So, we wanted to take a deeper dive into the topic today. In our exploration, we found an article, and it came from the UK's Schools Week. It's titled Research How Can We Foster Effective Teacher Collaboration? Our level setting today comes from that piece. So the quote you see on the screen says, research suggests that opportunities for teacher collaboration are a key feature of school environments where teachers have higher job satisfaction and continue to develop their effectiveness over time. Not only that, but Matthew Ronfelt and colleagues found that the quality of collaboration around instruction reported by teachers was linked to pupil attainment at teacher and school level. So I'll mention that the article suggests that collaboration can take many different forms. And over the course of my career, I have found that to be true, from critical discussions with colleagues to co-planning and beyond. But what I find really compelling about this quote is the idea that collaboration among teachers is good for the entire school. It can help create higher job satisfaction. So that means happier teachers, which we all want. It can help create more effective teachers. And they call it pupil attainment in the UK. In the US, we might say that it promotes student achievement. And all three of those things connect back to our focus, teacher agency.
That's really powerful information, Danielle. And you're right. As I think back to the moments throughout my career of how collaboration was not only good for me, but it was good for the students and for the school. So I'm curious, can you tell us a time when collaboration was really effective for you?
Yeah. So one thing that really struck me from the article was this quote. Looking at collaboration around instruction specifically, Ronfelt and colleagues' research suggests that it is high quality collaboration around assessment in particular, including both external assessment results and formative assessment, that most often predicts pupil attainment gains. So I have to be honest, my first reaction to that quote was that I always really strongly disliked forced collaboration around assessment. You know what I'm talking about. Those days where administrators sit you down in the library to go over SAT scores or whatever it might be. It always just made me feel like a number, and it made my students just feel like a number, data points. And honestly, I kind of hated that. But then I thought some more, and I realized that one of my personally most transformative collaborative experiences actually did revolve around assessment. So my teaching bestie and I used to teach AP Lang together. When exam results came back every summer, we'd always take a cursory look at those aggregate scores. And then a few summers ago, we noticed something weird. Our students' original argument essays were, on average, their weakest. And that completely bucked the national trend. Most students did best on that essay. So though our scores were pretty good overall, this little interesting data nugget inspired us to do some reflection about our own instruction. And to really oversimplify our conclusion, we realized we weren't teaching students to feel empowered by their writing. We wanted them to make sensical organizational choices rather than follow a prescriptive model. And we also wanted them to be aware of the effect of their rhetorical choices on their audience. We reviewed the literature and we decided that we would try to implement ideas from Peter Elbow's Writing Without Teachers, which you see on the screen right now. So together, my bestie and I charted a plan to allow students to be in the driver's seat and help each other see the, as Elbow puts it, the movies that played in their heads when they read each other's writing. By the end of our unit, students felt excited about responding to each other's writing and amazingly actually sharing their writing, which is something that a lot of students struggle with. They had a greatly improved awareness of their audience. And when we looked at aggregate essay scores next summer, sure, they didn't make a huge leap, but they did improve somewhat. And more importantly, I could see the effects of the work that we did in my own classroom and in the way students interacted with each other and interacted with their work. To me, that was a huge win.
Danielle, that's such a powerful story, hearing how something like data and those numbers, which can be overwhelming, and from my personal experience as well, it's not fun to look at. But to use that as the springboard for deeper collaboration with your teacher colleague and to see that growth that not only you had with that information, but the agency that you gave your students as well in improving their writing, that's pretty powerful. And that's a great way to see how coming together intentionally is really important, not just for you as an educator, but for the goals of your students. My experience as I think about effective moments of collaboration also include kind of those more formal ones, but something else in the article that really struck me was these chance encounters of collaboration that I would have. And the article suggests that structural characteristics, such as having time, space, and opportunity to engage in collaboration, is often a challenge. And that's why it seems like it's more formalized when we set department meetings or all staff meetings to review those things. But what the article also pointed out was that teachers would engage in more informal collaboration through chance encounters, so oftentimes with teacher neighbors or in the hall. And that was true to my experience. Kind of perhaps specific to my situation, but as an English teacher, I happen to be in more of the social studies hallway. And so as I look back, I can honestly say that that did impact um, my the strategies that I used, the perspectives that I was getting from those teachers as they approached things a little differently in their social studies classes. And so although we would meet in the hall in those 5 minutes between class exchange, what I found is that I would often turn to my teacher neighbor and have a quick conversation of, hey, what were you doing last hour? I could hear some fun things going on. And she would ask me, and I can tell you that one of my favorite activities was from one of those quick moment conversations. She called it walls and windows, and it was a debate strategy. And as I was quickly thinking of something that I was going to do in my English classes, ultimately it involved a little bit of debate or just some argument, persuasion, and I was able to quickly implement her walls and windows strategy. What was even cooler was the students that were in her class were familiar with that strategy, and I was able to use it with them and share my strategies with her as well, just in those quick 5 minute conversations. And so having that ability to even informally gain different perspectives and use those in my classes, I found to be truly impactful, not just for me as a teacher and my agency, but again, leveraging those protocols and those strategies that kids were using in other classes and that were working well, and I could continue to build on those. So I guess just from our conversation, some key takeaways that I've at least gotten from our conversation and from the article is that collaboration can be formal and informal. And it's important to have that mix of collaboration, seeking out advice from others. As you mentioned, even using data as a springboard to open those doors for collaboration, to get a way to see what we're not perhaps seeing in the classroom that those numbers might be showing us, but also then using resources and the ideas of from our colleagues to make sense of that and to work towards growth. And finally, in any form, collaboration is powerful. Kind of from the quote, even that you mentioned earlier, it can also just elevate alternative perspectives, those ideas that we don't need to figure out all by ourselves. It promotes action, kind of like both of our stories showcased, and it builds community, which connections always brings people a little closer and just adds a little bit more joy to our work.
Those are great takeaways. And honestly, I feel really inspired to continue collaborating. So, what's next? As we've mentioned, we found this article that we think that you might find interesting too. So it's called Research, How Can We Foster Effective Teacher Collaboration by Kat Scott. Definitely check that out. And of course, you can always refer back to PD on a Page to see the resources that we've given you for collaboration. And with that, we will see you next time.
Bye.